The air in Commander Marcus Cole's office was a manufactured chill, smelling faintly of ozone and expensive, ineffective air freshener. It was a space designed to project power, from the polished mahogany desk to the squadron plaques arranged in a precise, self-congratulatory phalanx on the wall. Dr. Eris Thorne stood before the desk, a civilian in a world of rigid uniforms, her simple gray slacks and blue blouse a quiet disruption. She held a standard data slate, its screen dark. She had been standing there for 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Commander Cole did not look up. He continued signing a stack of papers with a fountain pen, each stroke a deliberate flourish of authority. He was a man sculpted by ambition, with a sharp jaw, perfectly coiffed hair, and the easy, predatory confidence of someone who had never been seriously challenged. He saw her reflection in the gleam of his desk, a woman of indeterminate age, plain, with hair pulled back in a severe bun and features that seemed designed to be forgotten. She was an analyst from Navsia, another box to be checked, another bureaucratic hurdle in his otherwise stellar ascent. "Thorne, is it?" he finally asked, not as a question but as a confirmation of an inconvenient fact. He still didn't make eye contact. "Yes, Commander," her voice was low, devoid of inflection. "Right." The systems audit, he capped his pen with a decisive click. "Master Chief Vance will get you squared away. He knows you're coming. We're in the final prep stages for Operation Vigilant Trident. High tempo, high vis. We're showcasing the new Revenant platform for Admiral Kincaid. So, I'd appreciate it if you could conduct your assessment with minimal footprint. Stay out of the way. Read the reports, check the logs, and give us our green checkmark." "Understood. My directive is a full operational readiness inspection, Commander. That includes live systems and personnel evaluation." For the first time, Cole looked at her. His eyes, a startlingly bright blue, narrowed. It was the look a hawk gives a field mouse, a brief flicker of irritation before dismissal. "My squadron, VQD-1 Phantoms, holds the highest readiness scores in the entire fleet air arm. Our metrics are flawless. Read the reports. They'll tell you everything you need to know." He gestured vaguely toward the door, a flick of the wrist that ended the conversation. "Vance will have your access credentials. Don't get in the way of my people." Eris gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. "Understood, Commander." She turned and walked out. The heavy door clicked shut behind her, the sound swallowed by the conditioned air. She hadn't gotten in the way. She had been dismissed. But Eris Thorne was used to being underestimated. It was, in its own way, a tactical advantage. She drew no attention. She was background noise, and in the background you could see everything. The hangar bay was a cavern of sound and motion, a stark contrast to the sterile quiet of the command suite. The humid coastal air, thick with the smell of jet fuel and salt, hung heavy under the sodium vapor lights. A pair of MQ-29 Revenant drones sat in the center of the floor, their sleek, bat-winged frames a menacing matte black. They were the bleeding edge of naval aviation, autonomous, networked, lethal, and Eris knew dangerously complex. A man built like a sea-worn pylon detached himself from the shadow of a wing. Master Chief Petty Officer Elias Vance had a face like a nautical chart, etched with the lines of 2 decades at sea. His eyes, unlike his commanders, were patient and appraising. "Ma'am," he said, his voice a low, gravelly rumble. "Master Chief Vance, the skipper said you were inbound." "Eris Thorne," she replied, offering a hand. His grip was firm, calloused, a working man's handshake. There was no condescension in his eyes, only professional curiosity. "Heard you're here to bless our paperwork," Vance said, a hint of wryness in his tone. "Something like that," Eris said. "I need a terminal with full diagnostic access to the Revenant ground control system, and the last 72 hours of maintenance logs. Digital copies." Vance nodded slowly. "Figured as much. You analysts are all the same. Don't trust what's on the page. Gotta see the guts of the machine for yourself." He led her toward a maintenance alcove, his heavy boots echoing on the polished concrete floor. "The CO, he's proud of this squadron. puts a lot of stock in our numbers. Numbers can be made to say anything, Eris observed quietly. Vance shot her a quick, sharp look. A flicker of understanding passed between them. He'd seen it before. She'd seen it 100 times. The pressure from the top for perfect scores, for flawless performance, which inevitably led to shortcuts at the bottom. Right this way, ma'am. The alcove was a small, cluttered space filled with diagnostic equipment. Vance logged her into a hardened laptop. Full Tier 3 access. Anything you need, you can pull from here. Let me know if the system gives you any grief. Thank you, Master Chief. Just doing my job, ma'am. He paused at the edge of the alcove. For what it's worth, some of us are glad you're here. Another set of eyes never hurts. He then turned and walked back toward the drones. His presence a silent anchor in the controlled chaos of the hangar. For the next 2 hours, Eris worked. Her focus was absolute. The world outside the glowing green text on her screen ceased to exist. She didn't just read the logs. She interrogated them. She cross-referenced flight data with maintenance reports, sensor telemetry with software patch notes. She was a digital archaeologist, uncovering the hidden story buried beneath layers of pristine, official data. Pattern began to emerge. A subtle, almost undetectable latency in the network handoffs between drones. A recurring software exception in the targeting package, flagged and dismissed as a minor glitch in 3 separate pre-flight checks. The system was generating warnings, but the operators were clearing them. The pressure to maintain a perfect operational tempo was creating a culture of normalization of deviance. Small problems ignored long enough metastasize. A shadow fell over her screen. She looked up to see a young officer. His face flushed with the unearned confidence of a new commission. The gold bar of a lieutenant junior grade glinted on his collar. His name tag read, Evans. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone implying she was the one who was lost. "I'm conducting a systems audit," Eris said, her eyes already returning to the screen. "Right." The analyst Evans leaned against the workstation, affecting an air of casual authority. He was mimicking his commander. "We're prepping for the big show. Admiral Kincaid is coming to see our birds fly. Commander Cole expects perfection." "Perfection is a difficult standard to maintain," Eris said without looking up. "Robustness is a better goal." Evans chuckled, a short, dismissive sound. "Our metrics are perfect. Highest in the fleet. The commander makes sure of it." He pointed to a line of code on her screen. "You won't find anything wrong there. Our techs are the best." Eris pointed to a different line. A time-stamped error log. "Warn, TCS_handshake_latency greater than 750 milliseconds. Packet loss detected. Retrying." The log showed 3 retries before a forced success. This warning has appeared 8 times in the last 24 hours across 3 different airframes. Has anyone investigated the root cause? Evans squinted at the screen. His confident posture faltered for a fraction of a second. "It's a known software glitch. A ghost in the machine. We just reset the module and it clears. It's in the report." "A recurring glitch is not a ghost," Eris said, her voice flat and steady. "It's a symptom. Clearing the warning without diagnosing the cause is like taking a painkiller for a broken bone. The pain goes away, but the bone is still broken." The analogy was lost on him. His confidence returned, now tinged with annoyance. "Look, Commander Cole has personally reviewed the readiness data. If he says we're good to go, we're good to go. We have a major exercise in 48 hours. We don't have time to chase down every little ghost." He pushed himself off the workstation and swaggered away, leaving Eris in the green glow of the terminal. She watched him go, a young officer taught to value confidence over competence, to follow orders without question, and to believe that perfectly curated reports reflected reality. It was a fragile and dangerous way to operate. Eris pulled up the notes on the latest software patch. It had been pushed through an expedited approval process, signed off by Commander Cole himself, to enhance the drone's autonomous swarming capabilities, a key feature to be demonstrated for the Admiral. The patch notes contained a single line about optimizing network protocols Eris suspected this optimization was the source of the latency. The new code was too aggressive, too demanding on the hardware, causing intermittent packet loss under certain conditions. She began typing a preliminary report, her language precise and clinical. Unidentified network latency issue presents a low probability, high-impact risk of cascading command and control failure during high-tempo swarm operations. Recommend grounding the fleet pending full diagnostic review of software patch 417B. She knew how it would be received. It would be seen as bureaucratic overreach, an analyst trying to justify her existence by creating problems where none existed. Commander Cole would dismiss it out of hand. But integrity demanded she write it. The system was broken, not just the software but the culture. Her job was to document the cracks, even if no one wanted to see them. She saved the report, flagged it with a priority tag, and sent it up the chain, a single digital flare fired into the dark. Then she went back to work, digging deeper into the code, preparing for the storm she knew was coming. The quiet hum of the servers was her only company, a steady rhythm against the rising pressure. The next day, the C2 center was a hive of controlled tension. The air, chilled to an almost uncomfortable degree, vibrated with the low hum of electronics. A massive screen dominated the front wall, displaying a mosaic of tactical data. Maps, video feeds, and system status indicators, all glowing in serene shades of blue and green. Commander Cole stood at the center of the room, a conductor before his orchestra, radiating an almost palpable aura of confidence. He was in his element. His morning briefing had been a masterclass in performative leadership. He'd dismissed Eris's report with a condescending wave of his hand. "I've reviewed the analyst's concerns," he'd announced to his assembled officers. "It's a known issue, people. A minor software bug with zero operational impact. We are not going to let bureaucratic hand-wringing derail the most important demonstration this squadron has ever conducted. We push through. We execute. We show the Admiral what the Phantoms can do. Is that clear?" A chorus of "Yes, Commander," had echoed through the briefing room. LTJG Evans's voice had been the loudest. Only Master Chief Vance, standing at the back of the room, had met Eris's gaze, his expression unreadable but for the slight tightening around his eyes. Now the exercise was underway. Vigilant Trident was a complex scenario involving a simulated enemy fleet. The Revenant drones, designated Phantom Flight, were the tip of the spear. Their mission was to penetrate enemy air defenses, identify high-value targets, and provide targeting data for a carrier strike group positioned over the horizon. Eris sat at a small, secondary console in the back of the room, designated for observers from her vantage point. She could see everything. The intense focus of the operators, the smug satisfaction on Cole's face as the mission began flawlessly, and the clean, green status lights for all 6 Revenant drones. "Phantom Flight is on station," an operator called out. "Network link is stable. All birds report green." "Excellent," Cole boomed, his voice resonating with pride. "Begin Phase 2. Push the drones forward. Let's see what they can do." On the main screen, 6 icons representing the drones moved in a perfect, synchronized formation across the tactical map. They were a swarm sharing data, thinking as one. It was an impressive display of technological prowess. Cole allowed himself a small, triumphant smile. Eris watched her own screen, a feed of raw network telemetry that no one else was looking at. The latency was still there, milliseconds at a time, but it was persistent. A tremor in the foundation. Under the increased processing load of the swarming maneuver, the packet loss was becoming more frequent. The system was compensating, rerouting data, but it was under strain. "Phantom 3, target acquired," an operator reported. "Transmitting targeting data to Strike Command." "Good work, people," Cole said, clapping his hands together. "This is textbook." And then it happened. A single icon on the main screen flickered from green to yellow. "Phantom 5, link degraded." Cole's smile tightened. "What's that? Communications?" "Minor interference, sir," the operator replied, his fingers dancing across his keyboard. Compensating now. But it didn't compensate. The icon flashed red. Phantom 5. Link severed. Simultaneously, two more icons, Phantom 2 and Phantom 4, flickered to yellow. Commander, we've lost command link to Phantom 5. The operator said, his voice a pitch higher. The swarm is trying to reestablish. But, sir, we're seeing cascading failures across the network. The serene blue and green of the main screen was suddenly corrupted by angry red warnings. Phantom 2 and Phantom 4 went dark. Then Phantom 6. In the space of 10 seconds, they had lost control of 4 of the 6 drones. What the hell is going on? Cole roared, his composure shattering like glass. Get them back online. Now! The operators worked frantically, their calm professionalism evaporating into hurried, panicked movements. Static filled the communication channels. Sir, they're not responding to commands. The network is collapsing. The remaining 2 drones are flying blind. Commander! It was a new voice, laced with pure terror. The weapons systems officer. Phantom 3 is still armed. Is carrying a live harpoon. Its last programmed waypoint, sir. It's heading directly for a civilian shipping lane. The room went cold. The low hum of the servers now seemed menacing. On the map, the icon for Phantom 3 continued its steady, unyielding path toward a cluster of small dots representing commercial vessels. They had created a flying bomb and had no way to control it. Commander Cole was frozen, his face pale, his blue eyes wide with a mixture of fear and disbelief. His entire career was evaporating in a cascade of red error messages. He started shouting orders, but they were contradictory and useless. Reboot the ground station. Try a different frequency. Somebody get me a goddamn solution. His authority, so absolute moments before, had crumbled into impotent rage. The junior officers looked lost, their confidence stripped away, replaced by the raw fear of catastrophic failure. LTJG Evans stared at his screen, his hands hovering uselessly over the controls. Through the rising chaos, one thing remained constant. The quiet figure at the back of the room. Eris Thorne had not moved. Her expression was one of intense, unshakable focus. She had seen this coming. She had documented the risk. Now she would deal with the consequence. She stood up. Her movement was deliberate, economical. She walked from the shadows of her observer station toward the center of the room. The panicked operators and their shouting commander paid her no mind. She was just a civilian, an analyst, part of the background. But Master Chief Vance saw her. He had been watching her since the first icon flickered. He saw the purpose in her stride. As she approached a vacant engineering terminal, he moved to intercept a frantic lieutenant who was about to get in her way. "Let her work," Vance said, his voice a low command that cut through the noise. The lieutenant froze, confused, but obeyed. Eris sat down. Her hands moved over the keyboard with a speed and precision that was mesmerizing. She wasn't using the standard operator interface. She had opened a command line terminal, a stark black screen filled with cascading lines of white and green text. She was speaking directly to the heart of the system in its native language. Cole noticed her for the first time. "What do you think you're doing? Get away from that console." Eris didn't even look at him. Her voice, when she spoke, was perfectly calm, a blade of focused steel that sliced through the panic. "Master Chief, get me a secure voice link to the E2D Hawkeye, call sign Ghost Rider. Now." Vance was already moving. "Aye, ma'am." He didn't question the order. He recognized true command when he heard it. "You have no authority here," Cole blustered, taking a step toward her. Vance turned, planting his feet, and put a hand on his commander's chest. It was not a violent gesture, but it was immovable. "Sir, let her work." Cole stared at his Master Chief in stunned silence, his face a mask of fury and humiliation. "Ghost Rider on the line," Vance said into a headset, then handed it to Eris. She put it on, one hand still flying across the keyboard. "Ghost Rider, this is oversight. I have a rogue drone, Phantom 3, armed, heading for grid 3-59er, for -2 Echo. I need you to broadcast a raw data packet on frequency 245,775 MHz. I am sending you the packet now. Transmit on my mark. This is a failsafe command. Acknowledge. The voice of the Hawkeye pilot came back, professional but confused. Oversight, we are a communications relay. We are not equipped to... Who is this? I am the system architect, son. You are equipped. The packet is transmitting to your terminal now. It will bypass your standard comm suite and route directly to your broadcast array. It's a hardware-level function. Stand by. On her screen, Eris isolated the corrupted software module that had started the cascade. Cole's optimized patch. It was a beautiful piece of code, elegant and aggressive, but it had a fatal flaw. It didn't account for network degradation. Instead of failing gracefully, it fought for control, flooding the network with corrupted handshake requests until the entire system choked and collapsed. She couldn't fix the code from here, but she could bypass it. The failsafe she was activating was a hard-coded kill switch she had personally designed and buried deep in the drone's firmware, accessible only through a direct, unencrypted radio command. It was a last resort, a digital self-destruct for the drone's brain. It would sever the connection to the corrupt network, force the flight controls into a safe, primitive mode, and disarm the weapon. Ghost Rider, do you have the packet? Eris asked, her eyes darting between the telemetry feed and the tactical map. Phantom 3 was closing on the shipping lane. They had less than 90 seconds. Affirmative. Oversight. We have something. Looks like garbage data. It's not garbage. Transmit on my mark. In 3, 2, 1. Mark. Transmitting mark. The C2 center was silent now, all eyes fixed on the main screen. Cole stood behind Eris, defeated, watching a ghost he dismissed take control of his universe. The icon for Phantom 3 continued its deadly trajectory. For 5 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, the icon flashed. Not red, not yellow, but bright white. A new status appeared beside it. Failsafe engaged. Weapon systems safed. Autonomous RTB initiated. The drone icon abruptly changed course, banking sharply away from the civilian ships and turning back toward the base. A collective sigh of relief washed through the room. It was a physical thing, a wave of released tension that left them all weak. The operator at the weapons station slumped in his chair, head in his hands. Eris wasn't finished. Communications, instruct the remaining 2 drones, Phantom 1 and Phantom 6, to cease their mission and return to base immediately. Use their emergency recovery frequency. They will not respond to network commands. The comms officer, his voice trembling slightly, relayed the order. The final 2 icons on the map obediently changed course. The crisis was over. 6 multimillion-dollar drones were not at the bottom of the ocean. A civilian vessel was not a smoking crater. Commander Cole's career was still in ruins, but no one had died. Eris took off the headset and placed it gently on the console. She looked at the screen for a moment longer, her face illuminated by the lines of code she had used to avert disaster. She had been calm. She had been precise. She had been in control. The heavy doors to the C2 center hissed open, breaking the spell. The sudden silence was replaced by the sound of authoritative footsteps. Every head turned. Framed in the doorway stood a man who commanded respect without saying a word. He wore the working uniform of a rear admiral. His sleeves rolled up to reveal tanned, sinewy forearms. His face was weathered, his eyes sharp and intelligent. On his collar, the 2 stars of a rear admiral glittered. On his chest, above a row of combat ribbons, was the golden trident of a Navy SEAL. This was Admiral Kincaid. He surveyed the scene with a quick, practiced eye. The relieved but shaken faces of the operators, the stunned humiliation of Commander Cole, the steady presence of Master Chief Vance, and the quiet woman at the engineering console. Commander Cole, jolted back to life, rushed forward, attempting to salvage some shred of his authority. Admiral, we had a minor systems malfunction, a cascading network failure, but the situation is under control. Admiral Kincaid walked right past him, his eyes fixed on Eris. He didn't slow his stride until he was standing directly behind her chair. The entire room held its breath. The Admiral looked down at the lines of code still glowing on her screen, then at the tactical display showing the 3 drones safely returning to base. Eris turned in her chair to face him. She didn't stand. She simply met his gaze. Admiral Kincaid's stern expression softened into one of profound respect. He drew himself up to his full height, his back ramrod straight, and executed a perfect, formal salute. It was not the casual gesture between officers. It was the crisp, sharp salute one renders to a superior, a sign of ultimate deference and esteem. "Dr. Thorne," he said, his voice a low baritone that filled the silent room. "Glad you were on site. I read your preliminary report this morning." The collective shock in the room was a palpable force. Jaws dropped. LTJG Evans, who had mocked her just the day before, looked as though he'd been struck by lightning. Commander Cole's face, already pale, went completely ashen. He stared at the unassuming woman in the gray slacks as if seeing her for the first time. "Dr. Thorne." The Admiral dropped his salute. "Commander Cole," he said, his voice now turning to ice. He didn't turn to look at the man. His gaze remained locked on Eris. "My office received Dr. Thorne's report at 0600 this morning. It recommended grounding your entire squadron pending a diagnostic on a specific software patch. You were copied on that report. You were also briefed 2 weeks ago that Dr. Eris Thorne, lead architect for the entire Revenant Autonomous Systems project and the final technical authority for its deployment, would be conducting this audit. Her call sign, Commander. Is Oracle, did you fail to read that briefing as well?" Cole stammered, his words failing him. "Sir, the metrics. I thought it was a minor." "You thought wrong." Kincaid cut him off, his voice dangerously quiet. "You valued your metrics over the integrity of your systems. You valued your demonstration over the safety of your people and the civilians you nearly killed. You had the answer in your hands and you ignored it because it was inconvenient." He finally turned his head, pinning Cole with a glare that could peel paint. "Master Chief, escort Commander Cole to his quarters. He is to have no further contact with this squadron or its systems. He is relieved of command. Effective immediately." Aye, Admiral," Vance said, his voice grim. He placed a firm hand on Cole's arm. The now former commander didn't resist. He looked utterly broken, a hollow man in a perfect uniform, as Vance led him from the room. The career he had so carefully constructed was over. The Admiral turned his attention back to the rest of the room. His eyes swept over the stunned operators and junior officers. "Let this be a lesson. Authority is given. Respect is earned. Competence speaks for itself. Dr. Thorne is in command of this recovery operation. Her word is law. You will give her anything she requires. Clear?" A ragged chorus of "Yes, Admiral" filled the room. The dynamic had been irrevocably altered. The center of gravity was no longer the commander's podium. It was the small engineering console where Eris sat. The operators now looked at her with a mixture of awe and reverence. LTJG Evans stood rigidly at his station, his face a mask of shame. He wouldn't meet her eyes. "Eris," the Admiral said, his tone softening again. "A full after-action report, please. I want everything. The software flaw, the procedural failures, the command climate. Send it directly to my secure terminal. Don't sugarcoat it." "I never do, Admiral," she replied, her voice as even as ever. He nodded, a flicker of a smile on his lips. "I know." He gave her one last look of respect, then turned and strode out of the C2 center, his presence lingering long after he was gone. The room slowly came back to life, but it was a different kind of life. The frantic energy was gone, replaced by a quiet, focused purpose. The operators began the methodical process of recovering the drones, their voices on the comm circuits calm and professional. They occasionally glanced back at Eris, seeking silent approval, which she gave with a slight nod. She opened a new file on her console. A blank document. The title appeared in simple, block letters. After-action report, VQ, D1 exercise Vigilant Trident, cascading system failure. She began to type. Her fingers moved with the same steady, relentless rhythm as before. She detailed the flaw in patch 417B, explaining how its focus on performance had sacrificed network stability. She documented the 8 instances where the warning had been logged and cleared without investigation. She cited the command culture that prioritized perfect metrics over honest reporting, creating an environment where junior personnel were implicitly encouraged to ignore potential problems. She was not vindictive. She was not emotional. She was a physician diagnosing a disease. Her report was a precise, unsparing autopsy of a failure. Hours passed. The sky outside the windowless room turned from the bright blue of afternoon to the deep indigo of twilight. One by one, the operators finished their shifts and were replaced by the night crew. They moved with a new quietness, a new deference. When they passed her console, they gave it a wide berth, as if it were a sacred space. Master Chief Vance appeared at her side, holding 2 mugs of coffee. He placed one on the corner of her desk, careful not to disturb her work. "They're all back, ma'am," he said quietly. "Safely on the deck. The techs are running full diagnostics now, grounding the fleet until further notice." "Good," Eris said, not looking up from her screen. "Thank you, Master Chief." Vance lingered for a moment. "What the Admiral said, about you being Oracle, I've heard that name before. In the Spec Ops community, they talk about it like it's some kind of legend. The ghost in the machine who makes sure the tech works when it counts." Eris paused her typing. She looked at the reflection of her own face in the dark screen. Plain, forgettable, the face of a ghost. "It's just a name, Master Chief." "No, ma'am," Vance said, his voice full of a respect that was deeper than any salute. "It's a reputation." He left her to her work. The only sounds in the C2 center were the ever-present hum of the servers and the soft, rhythmic clicking of her keyboard. She wrote of cascading failures, of human factors, of the critical difference between leadership and authority. She was building a firewall of words and facts, not just to fix a broken piece of software, but to repair a broken culture. Finally, long after midnight, she finished. The report was 47 pages long, a dense, technical, and brutally honest document. She attached the relevant data logs, encrypted the file, and sent it on a secure channel directly to Admiral Kincaid's inbox. Her work was done. She stood up, stretching her stiff limbs. The room was nearly empty now, bathed in the cool, impersonal glow of the monitors. She picked up her data slate and the now-cold mug of coffee. She walked toward the exit, her footsteps soft on the tiled floor. As she passed the main command podium, she saw the fountain pen Commander Cole had used, left behind in his haste. It lay gleaming under the fluorescent lights, a relic of a failed authority. Eris didn't give it a second glance. She walked out of the C2 center and into the quiet of the empty corridor, leaving the glowing screens and the hum of the machines behind. The air outside was cool and clean, smelling of the sea. She was just a woman in simple clothes walking toward her temporary quarters, already thinking about the next system, the next problem, the next place where someone needed to see the cracks that everyone else was trying to ignore. She was unseen. She was essential, and her work was never truly finished.